Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to my first ever League of Legends Champion Guide. In this episode, I will be covering runes, masteries, items, and mechanics for Fiora, the Grand Duelist.
I long for a worthy opponent.
I have been a Fiora main for about 2 months now and have clocked over 100 games with her. I've gone on a 16 game win streak with her in ranked and have a 71% win rate. I want to share all the knowledge I've gained over the 2 months and share some advanced tips with you that might help you out someday on the Rift.
Let's start off with the basics, summoner spells. You're always going to want to take Flash and Teleport as your summoner spells. Flash is just an all-around great summoner spell, good for being aggressive and for getting out of conflict. Teleport is necessary for a top laner to have a presence over the entire map and be able to go anywhere instantly.
So, let's get right into it with the masteries. With Fiora, you're almost always going to want to go with an 18-12-0 mastery page. Now, this is the typical mastery page I use. You go all the way down the left side on the ferocity page, fervor of battle for your keystone, and then you just get the most important ones in the cunning tree. You get savagery over wanderer, so that you can last hit the caster minions under tower a lot easier, using only one hit. You get assassin over secret stash, because the extra damage is way more useful than the extra mana and health you get from cookies. You get merciless over meditation, just for that extra damage when they're below 40% health. And then I take bandit over dangerous game, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more about why I do this. I choose bandit over dangerous game because of the insane amount of gold it provides. Just from getting an auto attack on your enemy laner every 5 seconds can earn you an extra 120 gold every minute, and at 20 minutes you could earn a maximum of 2,160 gold. Now that's just nuts. Now of course you're not going to be hitting your enemy laner perfectly every 5 seconds, but even doing half of that, which is what I normally do, you're still going to be earning over 1,000 gold just by having one mastery instead of just taking plus 5% mana and health on killer assist. This mastery also works with your Q because your Q counts as an auto attack. So all you have to do, run up, Q them, preferably in a vital spot, run away, you just earn an extra 10 gold. Do that every 5 seconds, you can get so much gold so fast and just outpace your laner like crazy. Now, onto the runes. The runes I almost always use are just basic AD runes. 12 magic resist, 15 physical damage, and 9 armor. Easy, they're super cheap, easy to get, and you can use them for everything. Of course, there are always other options though. Here's a rune page where instead of taking some magic resist, I've taken 10% cooldown at level 18. Now, in my typical build, I get boots of Lucidity. And if you want a different boot for some reason, you can take this rune page, you get the 10% cooldown from your runes instead of the boots, and you could be free to get ninja tabbies, merc boots, or whatever you want. Now, that's pretty much the runes. I guess we'll move on to the items now. Now, this is pretty much my build every single game. First, you go Ravenous Hydra, Trinity Force, Boots of Lucidity, Death's Dance, Guardian Angel, Maw, or Mercurial Scimitar, depending on what their team is. I used to take Black Cleaver, and don't get me wrong, it's a good item, but what I've found is Trinity Force is just way better for my kind of playstyle. With Trinity Force, in my experience, it just does twice as much damage as Black Cleaver could ever do. It gives you the Phage passive, it gives you attack speed, and it doesn't give you quite the amount of health Black Cleaver does, but the Sheen proc will just annihilate any squishies that get in the way of the Q because your Q procs Sheen effect. Now, unless you've already got crazy damage on your team, I would definitely recommend picking up Trinity Force instead of Black Cleaver. Now, what do you buy on your first back? This is a pretty difficult question to answer generally. It very much depends on what your enemy laner is. In the game I'm playing in the background, I was against a Lissandra. Now she's an AP mage, and so on my first back, I definitely wanted to build Hex Drinker. I didn't have enough gold in the first back, so I got the Null Magic Mantle and a longsword and some pots, came back to lane, and saved enough for the Hex Drinker and to get the Tiamat on my next back. Tiamat is the typical starting item you want to get, except when you're against an AP mage like Ryze, Lissandra, Rumble, that kind of thing. You also want to build a Hex Drinker against Garen, because when Garen ults you and you have your Hex Drinker passive up, Hex Drinker is going to take all of that damage into the passive. So it's pretty much as if Garen's ult does nothing if you build Hex Drinker. That's the one exception for an AD champion that you want to build Hex Drinker on. Against AD champions, once you build your Tiamat, you have a choice. Either you finish Ravenous Hydra, or you start work on your Trinity Force. Now, if you're behind, you're going to want to build your Trinity Force first, before you finish the Ravenous Hydra, so that you can get that extra cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction on Fiora is crazy. It reduces the cooldown on her Q, her W, her E, and you pretty much need it to do any substantial damage on a consistent basis. However, if you're so far ahead that it doesn't even matter, just finish your Ravenous Hydra, because it'll give you the lifesteal, and then you can just sit in lane for the next 10 minutes, deny your lane opponent all the farm, because they're going to try and poke you, but you're going to poke them back, and you're going to regen off of all your minions. They're never going to be able to compete with you. So if you're super far ahead, finish your Ravenous Hydra so that you can just lane bully your opponent out of there. A very common thing is after you've finished your Ravenous Hydra, your Trinity Force, your Boots of Lucidity, you want to get started on your Death's Dance. Now, when you start Death's Dance, you always want to get the Caulfield's Hammer to get that extra 10% cooldown reduction and cap out at 40% cooldown reduction. And that's pretty much the entire build. I find this build on Fiora to be the most efficient build you can do. Getting that 40% cooldown will allow you to do so much more than building a tank or building anything will. Plus the lifesteal from Ravenous Hydra and the lifesteal from Death's Dance will make you unkillable in a team fight if you prioritize your targets correctly. Now I'm going to show you some highlights that I got from the game in the background, and show you some of the advanced tactics that I used to create the highlights and outplay my opponents super hard. In this play, Lissandra uses her freeze before I even go aggro on her, so that's one ability down already. I parry just in case she throws her Q at me to minimize the damage on me, but she only ends up using an auto attack, which isn't that bad because I get the damage from the parry and block the auto. Now at this point, I start auto attacking her, proccing my E, and queuing behind her to hit her vital. After that, another vital spawns behind her, I hit it, I keep chasing her. She's very low at this point, but I've still got flash. She doesn't retreat immediately, and that gives me the opportunity to flash behind her, Q in the vital spot just to make sure I end it, and I win the fight. This next play is 7 minutes after the previous play. I've already managed to back and get Hex Drinker and my Tiamat, so I'm pretty strong right now. The mid lane Kassadin has pushed me back behind my tower, and I know something bad is going to happen by the way he's being so aggressive. Lissandra tunnels in, and I manage to block all her abilities, including her ult, I think. I don't manage to quite hit her with the parry, which would have been an insta-win in the fight for me, but I do manage to block all her abilities. I notice she's tanking tower aggro, so I focus her first. Good thing I built Hex Drinker, because without it, I don't think I would have survived this fight. As you can see, right when I'm about to die, Hex Drinker pops, negating all of Kassadin's damage. His burst is now gone, and now I finish him off underneath the tower. Playing Fiora, you have to be super aggressive. If I had just been passive and sat behind my tower, I don't think I would have survived that fight. But because I dealt so much damage to Lissandra and Kassadin super early in the fight, the tower managed to kill them both. If you enjoyed this guide or it helped you out in any way, make sure to leave a like and maybe even subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future content, make sure to leave a comment below. I hope this guide helped you learn how to play Fiora a little bit better. If you want to watch the full gameplay I used in the background of this video, a link is in the description below. Thanks for watching!
Talent, honor, discipline, and pretty pictures.